Hey guys, NES Addict here, and this is my top 10 NES games that I couldn't live without. Number 10, Life Force. Life Force is a classic shmup made by Konami. Boy am I glad too, because as much as I love this side-scrolling shooter, I could not beat it without the Konami code. I love this game because of its amazing level design, memorable boss battles, and because it tickles the nostalgia bone, as I used to play this at my friend Chris's house all the time. I'll never forget the first boss who I always thought was Mother Brain. For all of the nostalgic memories this game brings back is exactly why it starts off my list at number 10. Number 9, Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2 is a game that I recently played through because I wanted to research the game I was going to talk about in my new episode of Retro Rewind. I know, shameless plug. As a kid, I had limited exposure to the Mega Man series, only playing this game a handful of times at my friend McEwen's house. What I quickly learned about this game is that it lives up to the hype. Everything from the well-written music to the challenging level design sucked me in quickly to this classic game. I also love that you could pick your own path through this game, and that you gain enemies' powers after you defeated them. And that's why Mega Man 2 made my list at number 9. Number 8, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. TMNT was made by Ultra, a branch of Konami created to increase the quota of games that could be made per year by Konami due to Nintendo's strict regulations. Looking back, it's hard to believe I returned this to Sears December 26th, 1991, because I thought it was too hard and couldn't get past the damn level because of that stupid seaweed. As an adult, I had to beat this game, and now that I have gained a new appreciation for this underrated gem, which is why it now sits at number 8 on my list. Number 7, The Legend of Zelda. It's hard to admit, but I completely wrote off this game as a child because I was turned off by the overhead view, which I referred to as bad graphics. Because of my short-sightedness, I completely missed out on one of the greatest adventures to ever grace the NES. After falling in love with the NES again as an adult, I made it my mission to right this wrong. Now, after completing it, with a little help from Nintendo Power and the internet, I can see what all the hype was about and wish I could tell my 9-year-old self to give this a chance. Who would have thought, after all these years later, this would be number 7 on my list. Number 6, Metroid. This is one of the games I was unfortunately just never exposed to as a kid. Despite its popularity, none of my friends had it, and with my collection of games left to the fate of mostly my mom and dad, I got games like King of Kings instead of something classic and amazing like Metroid. What I love about this game is the exploration, power-ups, and the music. I find myself singing these tunes long after I've played it. Do 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 do. It's a bit intimidating at first when you feel powerless to the simplest of enemies, but after you find a few energy tanks and other various power-ups, you feel adequately prepared for the challenge. Also, Kraid, Ridley, and Mother Brain are just cool bosses. For all these reasons and more, Metroid is number 6 on my list. Number 5, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. While the Sega Genesis had endorsements from Michael Jackson, Pat Riley, and Joe Montana, the NES started it all with Mike Tyson. From the simple but tight game mechanics to the memorable, well-thought-out boxing characters, this game oozes all that makes a classic NES title. The challenge of trying to make my way through each character is as satisfying as any platformer. And the fact that I still haven't gotten to Mike Tyson keeps me coming back for more punishment. Number 4. Contra. As a kid, Contra always seemed like the impossible challenge. So what do? Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA. Well, that's cheating, right? I kind of think so too now as an adult. And that's exactly why I dedicated myself to learning the ins and outs of this game to finally defeat it without the Konami code. What I love about Contra is all of the power-ups for your weapons, especially the spread shot. The boss fights are equally as amazing, which doesn't surprise me since Konami made this in its heyday. Overall, Contra is just classic to the core, and that's why it is number 4 on my list. Number 3. Ninja Gaiden. If you grew up in the 80s, two things were way cool. Nintendo and ninjas. Who doesn't love ninjas? Well, this game combined both, and despite its brutal difficulty, has made its way into my heart. My heart that it desperately wants to rip out as a sacrifice to Jacquio, no doubt. I think I must be a glutton for punishment because it's in part to the difficulty that keeps me coming back to challenge myself all over again. I'm quite sure I'll be playing this game at 60 years old, yelling curses at eagles and bats. This is why Ninja Gaiden ranks number 3 on my list. Number 2. Batman. As a kid, I loved The Dark Knight, and I also loved the Joker. So after I got this for Valentine's Day in 1990, I tried so hard to beat it. But my poor coordination and clumsiness as a 9-year-old just wouldn't allow me to do so. I managed to master the wall jump, but just wasn't able to beat some of the more difficult bosses. In 1992, I sold my NES and all 5 of my games to get the Super NES, and with that lost the chance to ever beat Batman. It was the thought of never completing Batman that made me want to play the NES again. I owe so much to this game because without it, I would have never picked up an NES controller and fallen in love with Nintendo all over again. And this is why Batman is number 2 on my list. And the number 1 NES game that I couldn't live without, Castlevania. So being nostalgically driven, it's amazing that this is my number 1 pick. I never actually played this game or laid eyes on it until I was 32 years old. When I got back into Nintendo, my buddy Todd got me this as a birthday gift, along with Ninja Gaiden, as they were 2 games he loved as a kid. As soon as I whipped my first zombie, I fell in love with the graphical style and playing mechanics of Castlevania. I toiled for several weeks until I beat death, and eventually laid Count Dracula to rest. After I played this game, I went out and bought every 8-bit Castlevania game and loved them all. That's right, even Simon's Quest. I was invested into the character Simon Belmont and felt compelled to guide him through till he could rid Dracula's curse once and for all. And that is why this is the number 1 game on my list. Well guys, that wraps up my top 10 list of games that I couldn't live without on the NES. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And in the comments section, leave me your top 10 list. I would love to know the games you guys couldn't live without. Thanks for watching.